now. I'm going to open the meeting of December 16th, Port of Siuslaw. First thing we're going to do is approval of the agenda. Commissioners, any?
I would like to add to the agenda, and it's regarding this email that I got from Peter DeFazio's office that came after the agenda was already set, so that we can have some commissioner discussion on money projects.
Okay,
You want to add that under new business?
under new business, yes.
Thank you.
I don't think I got that email. Was it on your court mail?
I gave it to Dina, and she sent it out to all commissioners.
Oh. Well, anyway, we'll go and continue on. Today we have a presentation by Jennifer Connor on the Dancing with Sea Lions program from the Florence Event Center Marketing. Welcome, Jennifer.
Going to move so I can see it.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time tonight and the commissioners allowing me to come and talk about what the Florence Event Center is going to do to celebrate their 20th anniversary next year. Can you believe it? We're 20 years old now. And so in 2016, we've been trying to think of some creative ways to give back to the community and express what the FEC has meant for this community. Of course, we are a performing arts center and a place for our community to meet and come together. And we like to think that the arts have a ripple effect on our community, all the way from up to Newport, down to Reedsport. We work a lot with those folks, and they helped us put together the FEC and gave us input, and we still share with them. So this project includes them. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about it, and don't worry, this won't be death by PowerPoint. I'm going to show you some illustrations of what our project might look like. I've also made some brochures, and when you're done, we can quickly review what I am asking you about tonight with this opportunity. And so let's just start. First, there was public art projects.
Can you see okay, Ron?
Yeah, I'm fine.
If you remember the cow parades or heard anything about them, they started in Switzerland. They had them in Buenos Aires, Chicago, Edinburgh, and Lima. And then came Moose in the City. I bet you can guess where this was at if you look closely. At the Maple Leaf. They were in Toronto. And after this project, lots of others followed, including the Paddington Trail, which was, as you can guess, in that infamous city, London. And they were all over the city, and there was a trail and a map that was put out that showed where all the Paddingtons were, and they were all designed by artists and different. And in Vacaville, California, last year, they did a project called We Know Jack, which celebrated their jackrabbits, and they helped raise a tidy $90,000 for their museum with this public art project. This project that we're doing is very similar to the Vacaville We Know Jack project because they had 25 rabbits, and we are going to have 20 sea lions. So now there will be, for our project, Dancing with Sea Lions to celebrate the 20 years with the Florence Event Center. So we are introducing, maybe you saw the Siuslaw News today, we made a big splash on the front page with Porter the Sea Lion. It was recently shipped to us from Chicago, and it was created by a company called Cow Painters, which has been in the business of creating these fiberglass iconic creatures for different communities for about 15 years. They had the most experience, and they gave us the best price, so we went with Cow Painters. And when she arrived last week, Mayor Joe Henry showed up in his diving gear to help her with her birth. We're very excited. So what is this exactly? This is a public art project. It's designed to enrich the coastal community with visual art in a public forum, and the objective is clearly to commemorate 20 years, so we're using 20 different sea lions. And there have been lots of questions. How does it work? Who benefits? When is this going to happen? Where will it take place? And of course, the big question is, what is it going to cost? The basic idea, just to give you an overview, is they have the fiberglass sea lions, which we found are very hard, almost like your bathtub when you tap on them. We are going to commission artists to design the sea lions. They're local artists. We'll be holding a splash off after all the sea lions are painted. April 8th will be an event for all the sponsors and artists, and then on the 9th we'll have a public viewing at the FEC, so all 20 will be there. And then we'll publicly place the sea lions throughout the community. And I have a map over here of some of the ideas of where they might be. We have them going all the way from Newport. Of course, Sea Lion Caves is interested in our project, so it'll be going past their door. And then down primarily in Florence, and as far as the Umpqua Discovery Center, so that's what that represents. So these are just some ideas that our committee, who's been working really hard on this project, came up with of where they could be placed around the community. And they'll be on display for just 6 months. This is a temporary project, so they'll only be out in spring and summer, and then we'll bring them back to the FEC for what we're calling a migration, and we will auction them off permanently. So then they can go and live in permanent homes wherever they end up. So some ideas of what this kind of project looks like. This is whales and lions, the buffaloes and bulls have been done. You can see people get creative and add different things. Cats have been a really popular one for this type of a project. Pelicans, butterflies, dogs, cats, and you can see the designs are all varied. Whimsical to beautiful motifs. This happens to be mosaic. And the duck over here might be familiar to you because he landed in Eugene, tracked down. So how this particular project will bridge our community is, as I said, these design sea lions will be starting in Newport. They're going to cover Newport, go to Yachats. Primarily they'll be in Florence, and they'll go to Reedsport. And this is the part of the project that really bridges us together. And I'm happy to say that the Oregon Arts Commission granted us $5,000 for this project. Just last Thursday, we received the information. It's called the ABC grant, which means Arts Builds Communities, and that's what we're really hoping this does. And we all benefit from this, as I've mentioned, our local commerce, our local artists, local government. This is definitely a tourism project. Our local business and local citizens will all benefit and bring us together for this. Now, I'm asking the Port of Siuslaw and how they can be involved by sponsoring a sea lion to be placed on port property. I think that the port campground and RV spot is a great place for one of these sea lions, especially with all the families and visitors that you have to this area. There's lots of opportunities for selfies and photos and people to remember, oh yeah, the sea lion that I saw at the port, and that was in Florence, will be on people's lips for years to come. So how can it be designed? This is just a couple of ideas that were turned in. We're excited to say that we had 42 different art submissions for ideas, and we had to pick 20. These are two that I thought might match up with the port really well. I love the pirate. I think it's a great iconic. And then we probably have about 8 different nautical themed ideas too. We have salmon, we have a couple mermaid ideas, and we have some interesting fish and even a myrtle wood project. We also had a sunset submitted, as well as this represents rhododendrons. That one's called Rhody Porter. And so if the port decided to purchase or sponsor a sea lion, you would get to pick your design of the artists that have submitted. And then what we're probably all wanting to know is how much will it cost? It's just $1,500 for one sea lion. That doesn't even cover what we're paying the artist, because we've gotten grants and received some underwriting money from Sea Lion Caves, Three Rivers Casino, and of course the Florence Urban Renewal Economic Development, or excuse me, Florence Urban Renewal Agency granted us $10,000 for this project. So we're supplementing, and the $1,500 basically covers the sea lion. So, and it would be on display for a 6-month period, as I said, from April to October at the port. And some of the sponsors to date, we've got, as I said, Three Rivers is an underwriter, Sea Lion Caves, Fura. The Friends of the Florence Event Center, of course, are committed to this project, and they will be the benefactors of the auction. The Oregon Pacific Bank, Banner Bank, Siuslaw News has sponsored. Siuslaw Public Library will have one. Driftwood Shores Resort, and that, of course, will be way out here. And the idea is really that we're bringing people into our community and having them drive all over to see these sea lions and where they're at, and really get a look at our community off the highway. And bringing them down here to the port, down to the boardwalk, the interpretive center will push tourists off the highway to explore. And also Reedsport Umpqua Discovery Center and Coast Insurance Peace Health has talked about having one at their facility, and C&M Stables will probably do some kind of seahorse with them. And West Coast Auto Body has agreed to help us with our project. And so that just leaves the next in line would be the Port of Siuslaw. So we have 20, we're at about 16 right now, and so we just have a few more, and then our project will be taking off. So coming in 2016 is Dancing with Sea Lions. Right, so do you have any questions?
I do. Will you have a brochure that's available at the Chamber of Commerce that tells where these all are?
Yes, absolutely. We have, in our marketing for this campaign, we have set aside $6,000 just for publications, a website, an app. Sea Lion Caves is doing a geocache event, so there will be coins that they can collect, and that will be all in the brochure. There'll be a map, a colorful map that'll be put in all the chambers of commerce up and down the coast, and that way people can just look at it, take it with them in their car. And so Oregon Coast Magazine will also have a full page advertisement in it. So all of the sponsors will be listed in
Yeah.
all of those things.
For visitors, would there be some that we could have here at the port? I mean,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Campground people, well, they'd see it, but they wouldn't know where the others are.
Right, so that's what the map would be great for. It'll be a tri-fold or a double fold, and then they can, you can pass those out with all of your other materials that are available. So yes, that will be a big part of this, is promoting all of the sponsors that have the sea lions. So, okay?
Thank
Do
you
have
very
any
much,
questions?
Jennifer.
Thanks. Okay. And this is
We will
the
take that
actual-
under advisement.
That's the actual pamphlet right there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. That's right. Get my-
Do we have any remarks from our citizens today?
No, we do not.
Okay, then we will move right along and go to financials. I presume everybody's had a chance to look at the financial statements for November.
I move that we ratify the bills that were paid for November, $121,370.18.
Second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we ratified the bills. Is there any old business that needs to come up? I see none listed on our agenda. So under new business, we have the Dancing with the Sea Lions project, and that Jennifer just talked about. And I think that should fall into our advertising, and I believe that's the manager's decision.
Well, the advertising budget is pretty maxed out because we have our projects
Right.
already lined out. But I was looking over the financials, and we do have some room in capital outlay. One of our projects that we were going to allocate was for a new reservation system, which this far into the off-season, we will probably not be doing this fiscal year. So there's some additional funds there. And The other place I was looking at was the travel expenses. We're not doing as much traveling this year, so there's some additional funds there, so we could do either a supplemental budget or a reallocation of some funds.
Is this something we need to vote on, or can we just have the manager make that decision?
Well, I think it's the board's, since it's on the agenda, I think if the board would like to make a motion, then the manager would go accordingly.
I will move that we do participate in this project for the $1,500 that it would cost the port. I think we would get more than that back by good publicity and help the city.
Okay. I hear a second.
I'll second Nancy's motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Jennifer, you made a good sale tonight.
Thank you, that's cool.
Okay, it's time for reports.
No, Nancy
No,
wanted to
I
discuss.
want-
Oh, we
this.
have the Peter DeFazio. I don't have that. I have something from Wyden's office, and I have something from,
Well, this was Liz Cooney, and it was forwarded from Dina.
huh. For some reason, I
Anyway,
didn't get it.
let me read this to you. It says, as the first session of the 114th Congress draws to a close, Congressman DeFazio remains committed to developing a 2016 Water Resources Development Act through his role as ranking member of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. While the last RDA was signed into law in June of 2014, it is the intent of Chairman Schuster and Ranking Member DeFazio to get RDA back on a 2-year cycle, all in an effort to better respond to the water resource needs of our country. That said, T&I committee staff is beginning to pull together priorities for a bill that could be marked up in committee in the next few months, and we want to hear from Oregon stakeholders. Please send me any priorities your organization or those in your community might have for RDA 2016 as soon as possible. A response to this email with a list is great, or if you'd prefer to schedule a phone call, we can set that up too. And my understanding is that this works like the transportation thing that Ron and I have been going to, where these projects are set and take a couple years of, in the development. And I was thinking that our bulkhead, the bulkhead, things that are water related, that's what
Right.
this particular money goes to, and that could perhaps we could ask for some dredging. I mean, we wouldn't get all, might not get any, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
I have received something from Pacific Northwest Waterway Association saying the same thing, call for projects
Right,
through them, and
and that's through,
I definitely agree. We need to enter our jetties, the repair of our jetties, which is a I think maybe $3 million payout or something like that.
No, it was a lot more than that.
It was like
It was
100 million, I think.
100 million anyway.
million.
It's a lot more than ever done, but we need to keep it in front of their face anyway, that they have to be repaired, plus our dredging, of course. And yes, the bulkhead would be another one, but I think it's something the manager should work up, and then I think, yes, we should submit it to Peter DeFazio's office and our Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden, and anybody else we can think of. Get it, just keep it in front of them long enough, maybe they'll finally fund it.
Now, are there other projects that any of you know about that could be or should be included with this kind of thing?
Well, I don't know if our restroom project would.
It
Qualify.
really needs to be more water related,
Yeah.
I believe. I was thinking of the wharf we have completed phase 1 of 3 phases of the wharf improvement project. There's still more work to be done. So wharf phase 2 and phase 3 would be something that we would want to probably add to this list.
Is that in our plan, our 5-year plan,
I believe so.
wharf
Yeah.
phases?
I brought that here. We've got bulkhead repair, complete needed boardwalk repairs, fence, deck, fire suppression, maintain and improve marinas, complete security upgrades, and evaluate feasibility of dock service upgrades. These are all water. Okay, assess and complete needed fuel dock upgrades. That we're thinking about moving to a different place if there's a possibility in that. Okay, research, secure funding and replace debris and shear booms. Complete permitting, design and install public crabbing and fishing dock. And let me see, advocate for continued federal dredging and jetty repairs, that's
Right.
Ron's. Explore renewable energy generation for port use or demonstration sites, that's one of our things listed here. And let's see if there was another. 5-year capital plan, market and sell Pacific View Industrial Park. Find somebody to buy that right
Yeah,
now.
we need somebody, yeah, that would be nice.
Assess feasibility of redevelopment of former mill sites. And, well, the other is assess feasibility of operating or developing Florence Airport. I don't know that we want to tackle
I don't think
those right now.
that we do.
But that's a list of,
Right.
and I think there's an urgency to this letter. I mean, to a response to them, and I don't know that we want to dump that on Dina. If we can, come up with 3 or 4 or whatever, I can email our suggestions back to them to just get things on their list, because all of these take, a couple of years in.
Well, Nancy, if
in
you could make
working.
an inquiry on how much information they need. I mean, do they just want projects, or do they want
Developed.
Costs,
Well, probably-
descriptions, engineering, how much detail do they need for us to?
I will. I can
Okay.
email
Yeah.
tomorrow
Okay.
and find out
Okay.
what it is they really want. And we could give them our entire list.
No, I don't think so. I think we.
Well,
ought-
you better
They-
have the jetties on top of your entire
Yeah.
list.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
you've got
Jetties
six,
and then
you've got
dredging
6
and-
big projects
Yes.
that I just wrote down, which are very important,
Yeah.
so.
Well, whenever I've talked to Peter
Mhm.
or to Arnie Roblin or people in their offices, they say, let us know
Yeah.
what you guys need. And
Right.
if we don't start being the squeaky wheel, we aren't going to get anywhere.
That's, I agree with you
And
100%.
this is an opportunity to do just that. This 7 or 5 minute thing is so irritating. We tried to change it. Okay, well,
Yeah, you
so
look
I would-
into
I
that,
would
yes,
like-
and
I
I'll
would
work
like
with you
your-
on that too. Okay?
do we need to have a motion and a vote?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
They do ask for
Oh.
priorities there.
Yeah.
Okay, so a wish list is different than a priority.
Well, I want to go one step further and say, who put the board or the abutment out here, #1 priority? Was that a manager's decision?
The what, the bulkhead?
You mean
Yeah, the
bulkhead?
bulkhead.
Well, I don't know.
Well, it was an accumulation of the previous board and the management compiling the whole 5-year strategic business plan. And,
And how much property have we lost in 5 years?
None.
well, I don't know how much property we've lost, but the engineering is starting to, I mean, if you look at it, it's starting to,
Right, but,
it's not a straight line
See, these-
anymore.
but it's not a complicated fix it's not a $1.4 million fix either. And I think we need to have someone else look at that and reevaluate, because there's other projects we could do that would,
See, these are the ones,
right, and you look here, the bulkhead's got a
Yeah.
one, priority one.
right. And so does the marina, upgrades, cameras, I mean, these all have a 1.
Where does the restroom, where's that one?
Well, that's not water, so we can't
No,
count
I know,
that,
but-
yeah.
Well, then maybe what we should is revisit the priorities. At another meeting, revisit the priorities and reset them.
I think the previous manager, we sidelined the bulkhead because it was gonna cost, what, $1.4 million?
Yes. I have my own opinion on the bulkhead, and that is, I let it fail. Maybe we can fix the one spot that failed rather than rebuild the whole thing. That
You don't have to build the whole thing,
Yeah.
exactly.
So that is my opinion, that when it happens, we will take care of it. Hopefully, we won't have to replace the whole thing at that time, but if there is a failure, we will take care of it.
What is happening with part of the campground that's closed off right now?
Well, there's just some erosion taking place on these real high tides and this high water, so we've just roped it off to
But isn't-
protect it from the to keep the public away.
Yeah, but that's coming towards what the bulkhead is protecting,
No,
isn't it?
it's on the other end of the bulkhead.
Oh, it's farther?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure of that when I saw your notes in this thing.
I think it'd be prudent to find out more information like was suggested. How much information that Dina said, do they need? Do you need engineered drawings or, for a project, or is this just throw your name in a basket and hopefully we get drawn?
Well, if you can make those inquiries, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if they need the list, can I just send them the list, or do I have to wait for
You
next
have
month?
to clear it through
Let's
Dana.
work together
Dana,
on
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and
no,
then
we don't have to
I can
vote
send
on
an
it.
email out to the board and
Okay.
for approval.
Okay, so I'll do the checking.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for letting me add that.
Thank you. Reports. Report from the president is I went to 2 meetings last month. The Florence Urban Renewal meeting. And they are moving forward with some different designs and ideas, and eventually we'll come up with their project, and the port property is part of the area that they are considering. It'd be the boardwalk area that they may want to purchase from the port in order to develop. They're looking at several different properties, but I guess we'll just wait and see what the consultant comes up with. The other meeting we went to was the Lane Area Council on Transportation meeting, Lane Act, which is held in Springfield. Nancy was there and I was there, and they once again reviewed the it's called the off-street project, STIPE, I think it's called, and the city of Florence was number 1 at the last meeting for having to redeveloping the section of highway between 101 and the bridge and making it more bicycle friendly and pedestrian friendly, and maybe opening some sort of a gateway into Old Town so more people stop at Old Town and spend their money. And when we got done with this meeting, we turned out to be number 3 in line. They think they will fund 4 for sure, and maybe all 6 that they were considering, depending on the budget. So I'm pretty sure Florence will still go forward and get that money, which is, I think, about $1 million for that project. And I think that's what I have to report. Nancy, you're next. Or Terry. Nancy? David?
Well, I have, on November 20th, I went to Yachats. This was a Land Sea Symposium that was sponsored by Surfrider Foundation. And Arnie Roblin was there talking about science collaboration, in Oregon's ocean. And a representative, David Gomberg, was there, and he talked about Ocean Science Trust. Lori, WEITKAMP, Whitecamp, talked about the blob that has appeared in our ocean in 2013, and this is due to warm ocean. And there were 3 other presenters, Scott Heppel, Jesse Beers, and Kelsey Atkinson. They spoke about recovering fish and species that don't belong here, and the tribe's history and science in the Marine Reserve Program. That was a very, very worthwhile meeting, because every time I go to one of these, I learn something more about our ocean. November 30 was Florence Urban Renewal Meeting, and December 1 was Florence Economic Development, and they had a presenter there talking about, he's from Independence, Oregon, and he talked about things that he had done to promote that city, and just really, really got people involved and a lot of job opportunities. December 2nd was a watershed meeting in Mapleton, and on the 9th there was at 4 o'clock there was a meeting for people who were new to the Lane Act, and it was kind of a training explanation thing, and I was there for that. And I commend Ron for speaking for the Florence Project, and it's really good to see and meet these people from all of the entities entire of Lane County, because it's Oak Ridge, everybody, mayors, and I met the Chief Brainerd of the Three Rivers tribe. Very, very good. And the 14th was City Council meeting at the FEC, and then following that was the special meeting regarding the marijuana regulations and the zones and how it will affect Florence. And I wasn't there for the final vote, so I'm sure it just went as planned, that they approved it. And then last night was a special program that was sponsored by the Watershed in Eugene. Jim Furnish spoke. He has written a book. He was the supervisor for the Siuslaw National Forest when the Owl Project stopped the logging, and it forced the Forest Service to change to a recovery of the forest and habitat for fish and owls, and the panel that talked after he did last night explained the difference now between the total clear cutting and one species of trees in the areas, that how much healthier the forests are, that birds are thriving, fish are coming back, and it was a huge upheaval, and there's always lots of pros and cons, but the forest is healing. And the Siuslaw has, with the rain and the warmth, the fastest growing, fastest producing trees in the world. These meetings are great. I learn something every time I go. I guess that's it.
Okay. Dina, do you have a report for us?
Well, I sent you out a report. We've been really just monitoring monitoring the river through all these high tides. We did apply for a small grant through special districts, and it was the total grant is for $3,740, and it's a 50-50 grant for water intrusion, which we have quite a few lakes out around the blue buildings.
Okay.
And so this is for probably 100 tons of gravel.
Yeah, okay, I
And,
saw that, that's great.
and grading. So that got submitted by the deadline of yesterday. Auditors were here on Monday, and the field visit went real well. And we are looking at working with the city to repair the concrete damage over by ICM. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to ask the manager a few questions.
Certainly.
The bathroom removal, that will become, is that gonna be a managerial decision to move these bathrooms?
Oh, no, that is going to be discussed with the board. That is just an idea. Since we don't have the funding to purchase a new restroom building,
That's a big
it's just
undertaking.
a proposal to consider as an alternative to move these restrooms to the back of the campground is an alternative to purchasing a new bathroom for back there. So that needs to be a discussion, an agenda item for discussion.
And I'm somewhat familiar with your planning in the blue buildings, but you could put 1,000 yards of rock in there and you're just gonna move the water somewhere else. There's no drain. So I've looked at that before as a contractor. 100 yards, it's not gonna, you have good gravel, you just have no place for the water to go. So,
All right.
I mean, just throw my 2 cents.
Okay,
I mean, I've looked at it with Jason.
all right.
You need to put a drain. Whether we have to get a permit to run it to a city drain, whatever, but it needs some place for the water to go.
I was under the impression there are drains out there.
No, there's no drainage.
I thought he said there were French drains. What are French drains?
A French drain is just gonna run over the surface,
Okay.
but there's no place, it's a toilet bowl.
All right.
I mean, there are no drains. You need an underground drain with a catch basin. And I don't think we can connect to city. I don't think we can drain it into the bay.
Right.
It needs to be drained, so.
Couldn't we connect in the parking lot drains somehow? Wherever
Or
they
our
go?
parking lot drains connected to city?
No, I think they go in the bay, but I don't know.
Well, they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't.
I wouldn't think they'd go in the
Yeah.
bay. They'd probably go through the stormwater.
But
But it's something, yeah, they could be connected in, but the problem there is you're gonna have to cut your asphalt to get to them.
yeah,
But that's what needs to be done. I mean, it's just, doesn't matter how much rock you put there, you're still gonna have water.
okay.
Dina, do we have an insurance agent record?
Yes, our insurance agent is Wilson Airgood and Associates out of Eugene.
So that's where we get our casualty insurance?
Yes.
How long are they applying?
They have 1 more year and a 3-year term.
Was that the one we just chose at the last?
2 years ago.
Okay.
Time flies.
I know. I have one more question.
Oh,
I lost my train of thought.
oh, no.
Oh, what'd you ever find out about site shovel ready? Did we ever come to an answer with that? Do we lose our,
That probably should be discussed later in
Okay.
executive session.
good. Thank you.
Anything else, Terry? David? Anybody? I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting then. At the present time, the commissioners will meet in